What's up, guys? It's Alex here, and welcome to a mock draft Monday episode. I know I just started it right as the draft is dropping, but we have CMC going number 1, Saquon number 2, but we have less than 25 days until the start of the NFL season. I think it's 24 days until the start. That's why that number popped into my head. But I really like this 8 spot here. I am drafting from the 8 spot. Last week I did the 6 spot. I'm trying to debate for my own main league whether to choose between the 4 or the 8 spot. Gonna see how it goes this time around. But I am super excited to bring this mock draft to you guys. I know the last one that I didn't even break 100 views, so hopefully this one will break even more. I know we're 40 seconds into the video now, but hopefully if you guys are watching this, you guys enjoy. I know it's going to be a little bit of a longer video. I think the last mock draft I did was about half an hour. This one will probably be about the same depending on how many auto drafts and stuff there are, but hopefully I can get a little bit more into the picks and a little bit more analysis. I know last time I was going super fast because there was a ton of auto draft picks, but if I was drafting from the 4 spot here, I'd probably pick the player that I love the most. That is not a Colt, because the Colts are my favorite team. I would go Alvin Kamara, but here at the 8 spot, I am looking to take Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If you have not checked out my running back rankings video, make sure you do. I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire as my running back 6. I would take him at the 7 spot, even before Devontae Adams. There is a clear tier break between 1 through 6 picks, and Derrick Henry goes pick 6. If Michael Thomas falls to me here, though, at pick 8, you know I have to take Michael Thomas. That would be a huge drop for Michael Thomas to fall to the 8 at one point. I mean, I've been seeing him go number 2 in some drafts, even number 1 sometimes, with people who may not know what they're doing and not realize the value that CMC brings as both a running back and basically a wide receiver. But I would go here with Clyde Edwards-Helaire as the 8 spot with my first overall pick, if you want to say that. Earlier, like last week, I was debating like Devontae Adams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They were 50-50, and I mean, if you want to go Devontae over Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I wouldn't blame you. But I am fully behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire here, my running back 6, handpicked by Patrick Mahomes and basically Andy Reid as well. First round pick, even when the Chiefs offense is already the best in the league. I think he is a great pick here. Then Miles Sanders going at number 9. I know that Devontae Adams there went number 10. Team Trout, which he's back. If you hadn't been watching my last mock draft that I did, you'd see that Team Trout and Team Hagan are back from that. But he takes Josh Jacobs as the 11th pick right there. I think I had Jacobs at the RB7 in my running back rankings, maybe RB8. I think the running back 7, but I think that is a great pick there. Super undervalued by ESPN. I don't know why. He's like ranked number 22, as you can see there between Mike Evans and Kenny Golladay. That would be where Josh Jacobs was ranked. At one point, he was ranked number 29, which is super stupid. I don't know what ESPN is thinking with their rankings, but I think that Josh Jacobs is deserving of a number 1 or a first round pick here in the mock draft for 2020, even in your live drafts, whatever you want to do. But D-Hop going with the last pick of the first round at the turn, along with Julio Jones. Interesting move here by Team Hickerson, going with 2 wide receivers to start the draft. I do not prescribe that strategy. I am a huge proponent of the running back, and then staying water to see how the rest of the draft goes. But then we have Team Trout taking Kenyon Drake here with his 2nd pick in the 2nd round. Tyreek Hill going pick 3 of the 2nd round. I'm looking here. Oh, perfect pick. I love Joe Mixon, my running back 9 in that rankings video that I did. I know I had Miles Sanders going number 10, but this is a perfect start here if I'm going at the 8 spot with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Joe Mixon, getting 2 of my top 9 running backs here to start off the draft. I know I'm going to be looking at pick 21, which is where I would have gone had I gone with the 4 spot. I'm really looking to get 2 running backs to start the draft, and I am really upset if I do not get like the tail end of the 2nd tier of running backs with like Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, and then Austin Eckler, which Austin Eckler went a pick before Joe Mixon. I don't agree with that, with the Chargers offense not going to be as good as they have been in the past, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, especially with Keenan Allen falling to maybe like the start of the 5th round, depending on how your drafts go. He could be a great value there if he doesn't drop too far off of his production that he's been doing in recent years. But then we have Nick Chubb going the next pick. Up next, we have Team Oxley with the 19th overall pick, moving pretty quickly here in this draft. But I'm going to be looking at pick 21, Kelsey and Jones going there, and that is why I'm so torn with taking that 4 spot, because right there's just a huge teardrop between Travis Kelce and then Chris Godwin. Travis Kelce is usually the player that ends up here as pick 21 if Chris Godwin or Mike Evans or even the quarterbacks with Lamar and Mahomes don't go. That is why I'm super torn on the 4 and the 8 spot for my main league. But here, trying out the 8 spot, working pretty well for me. Yeah, but yeah, there's a big teardrop here in my personal opinion. once you go from pick 20 to pick 21, once you get out of that Travis Kelce zone, Kelsey's like the last person of that tier, and then there's a big drop-off here to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Just a ton of wide receivers here bunched together. Not really what I'd be looking for with my second overall pick. I mean, I'd potentially even go running back here with a second round pick between like Todd Gurley. Then you have Chris Carson as well up there, Leonard Fournette, David Johnson. I would say Le'Veon Bell, but it just came out like minutes before I started recording this video that Adam Gase, the stupid head coach that he is thinking about giving some of Le'Veon's touches to Frank Gore to lessen the workload of Le'Veon Bell. Listen, that's not what you do with Le'Veon Bell. You feed him the rock. He is a volume type of guy, especially last year where he didn't have many touchdowns at all. You give him the rock. You let him produce. Previous #1 overall pick in fantasy football. He definitely has the talent. Stupid Adam Gase, the worst coach in the NFL, least exciting offense in the league. I don't know what freaking Adam Gase is thinking there. But then we have Todd Gurley going with that first pick of the next tier after Aaron Jones, Chris Godwin, George Kittle, who I love at the back of the second round, beginning of the third. I was thinking about taking him here with my next pick if he had fallen, but alas, he has not. Then we have Mike Evans going, Lamar Jackson, first pick of the third round. I think that's a good spot for him. Then we have Le'Veon Bell. Obviously, somebody didn't hear the news. Then we have Team Hagen picking Chris Carson with the third pick here. My target here at this spot, I'm actually thinking Adam Thielen or maybe Allen Robinson if he were to fall. I think I would end up choosing Thielen over Robinson. But if Thielen does get chosen, I'm probably going to go with a running back, maybe David Johnson. Make sure I get those top 3 running back spots locked down with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Joe Mixon, and then David Johnson. I think that would be a great way to start the draft, but I'd be okay with Adam Thielen there too. Just going to see how the draft ends up going. Team Matlick or whatever, taking a while to pick their spot here. But I really like Chris Carson there in the third round. Just that tier of running backs. There's just such a huge drop-off with all those wide receivers, though. So if you take a wide receiver that round, I wouldn't blame you. And then, of course, David Johnson does end up getting taken with the team who took forever to pick. Then we got Kenny Golladay going, Patrick Mahomes, Leonard Fournette, which means with this pick, I am going to go with Adam Thielen. I know a lot of people are super high on DJ Moore, but I just can't get excited about him this season. I don't know why, but I'm just not sold on DJ Moore, especially with Teddy Bridgewater coming in. Not excited to see how that offense, I guess I am excited to see how that offense turns out with Matt Rule, but I'm just not excited for DJ Moore's prospects, especially here in the mid-third round or maybe the tail end of the third round, depending on where your draft spot is. But then Amari Cooper too. Pick 9 of the third round above DJ Moore. Amari Cooper's stats are very similar to Michael Gallup's. I mean, Michael Gallup even outscored him on a points per game basis last year once the Cowboys, I think, week 8 bye went up and passed because Gallup was injured at the beginning of the season. But I think Gallup, kind of the same thing with Golladay and Marvin Jones, just a huge draft difference between the two for very similar production. I know the talent of Kenny Golladay or Amari Cooper is a lot better than Marvin Jones or Michael Gallup, but their productions are so similar. And when you're paying an extra 5, maybe even 6 round price for the top guy, most talented, I think the draft capital is way too much at that point for maybe a 1A and then like a 1D sort of thing. I think that's way too expensive to pay for a Kenny Golladay or an Amari Cooper. But here with my 4th pick, I'm going to go with the superstar of Odell Beckham Jr. They're at the second wide receiver spot. My starters are looking nasty there with CEH, Joe Mixon, Adam Thielen, and Odell Beckham Jr. I know Beckham had a bad year by his standards last year. He topped 200 points. I think he ended up with 201 for the season, but he didn't have those boom games where you drafted him in the late second round. He wasn't returning that sort of value for you. But now that is kind of baked into his draft price here. I think the Browns offense is going to be much improved. Odell did have like a torn groin or whatever it was, sports hernia. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was dealing with it the entire season. So now that he's healthy, now that he got some off-season surgery for that, he should be doing a lot better. But taking a look at some of the guys that I missed, we had Allen Robinson going pick 10 of the third round. DJ Moore falling to the second to last pick of the third round. That is a great pick by Team Trout there. Great value too, falling super far with his rank being, I think it was number 24. That's like the last pick of the second round. To get him almost an entire round later is an example of why you stay water, because you never know who's going to fall in the drafts. Then we have Juju going last pick of the third round. Melvin Gordon going way too high here with the first pick of the fourth round. Don't like that pick very much. Robert Woods going with the second pick of the fourth round. James Conner. Then we got Cooper Kupp falling decently far than Odell Beckham Jr. as I picked him. A.J. Brown, I just don't really know what to think of him. He is a super boomer bust guy. He's kind of like Tyler Higbee, to where the second half of the season, they were so good, but I mean, he has very little volume numbers. I think he had like 40-something receptions last year, but I mean, each reception he took like 20 yards at least. So I mean, if you want to go with A.J. Brown, the boomer bust guy, kind of similar to Tyreek Hill, I think it's worth a shot going in the 4th round, but I'm just not a fan of doing that. I don't like that inconsistency. I don't like relying on a huge boomer bust guy, especially not like relating to injuries, because I don't think A.J. Brown had too many injuries, but even if he does get injured, that adds even more risk on top of the boomer bust weekly potential with the inconsistency there. Not a pick I'm willing to take there with my 4th round pick. Then we have T.Y. Hilton going with the pick 7 of the 4th round. DeAndre Swift, he is an interesting character as well. I really love the talent there. I think he's the most talented guy in that Lions backfield. But Lions running backs in the past have not been good for fantasy, and the offensive coordinator for the Lions just came out this past weekend and said they still don't know what role that Swift is going to have in the offense. And I mean, Swift even said during the summer that he doesn't exactly know how he's going to fit into the offense. Still, I mean, we still have 24 days or whatever it is until the season starts. They have time to figure it out. But I just, especially here in the 4th round, I don't want to have question marks, especially surrounding whether the guy will even play a significant role in the offense there in the 4th round. Then we have Courtland Sutton going at pick 9, Tyler Lockett going pick 10, Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen, another huge tier here of wide receivers. This is basically like the 3rd or 4th tier of wide receivers, kind of the same thing with that mid 3rd round selections with all those wide receivers. This is kind of the same thing here in like the late 4th, early 5th of like 10 guys who you can basically take one over the other. Then we have Terry McLaurin going the 1st pick of the 5th round. Zach Ertz, my 4th ranked tight end. My 3rd tight end is still on the board here, which I am looking at with my next pick, but we'll take a look at the rest of those picks. We have DJ Chark going, huge breakout potential candidate here with the 3rd pick of the 5th round. Then we have Jarvis Landry going pick 4, DK Metcalf going pick 5, which I think is still way too early for him. Devin Singletary going pick 6, Jonathan Taylor pick 7, and then here I am going to go with my 3rd ranked tight end with Mark Andrews. I think he is a great selection there. He has the potential to finish as the tight end 1 with the great season he had last year. He only played like 48% of the snaps, so if he can get on the field, Lamar Jackson loves his big tight end there. If he sees him in the huddle, he's like, all right, bud, I'm going to pass it to you. If he can get even more volume, because I mean, I think he only had like 90 targets or something like that last year. I think he's going to break out this year even more than he did last year. I think he is a great pick as my tight end 3 here in the late 5th round. I think he's going to fill up my roster pretty good. But then I think that there is a decent drop-off then to Darren Waller there at pick 62, which is 1 rank lower than Mark Andrews, and then a huge tier break to the next tight end. So I want to go ahead and lock up that really good Mark Andrews. That can win me a week with an almost positional advantage every single week besides Kelsey and Kittle. But then we have Kareem Hunt, who I absolutely love going pick 9. I was hoping he would fall to me here in the 6th round, but alas, he did not. And Devontae Parker, big breakout pick from last year. I think he finished as like the wide receiver 4 or 7 or something like that on the year. And then like from week 7 on, he was like the wide receiver 2, which is just absolutely crazy considering his career arc to people saying he was a bust. Well, it remains to be seen if he'll be able to repeat that this year, but I think he is a great pick here, especially with the 10th pick of the 5th round, especially if you can get that wide receiver 7 production. Remains to be seen if it happens, but I think a great pick regardless. Then we have David Montgomery going pick 11 of the 5th round, Darren Waller, Rojo, Ronald Jones, then A.J. Green, who may be my guy this season. I'm super pumped on him, but of course Team Trout steals him from me here 3 picks ahead of me. Raheem Mostert, pick 3, Tariq Cohen, pick 4, but here I'm looking to fill my flex spot and the best player on the board available. I am going to go with Cam Akers here as my 3rd running back. He may not start the season, but I really like him as my running back 3. I think he'll end up taking over that offense for the rushing attack for the Los Angeles Rams. Losing Todd Gurley, going to be a ton of vacated rushes and even targets in the passing game. I think Cam Akers will do a great job here of filling that role and getting me that flex position. I also thought about taking Tyler Boyd since he did fall just a tad, maybe even Stephon Diggs. But I really need to lock up some good quality running backs here because there was a huge drop-off once you get past this mid-7th, early 8th round of running backs. Then there's just kind of utility guys or breakout candidates. Now, looking here at my next pick, I'm looking to get a quarterback. Maybe if Russell Wilson will fall to me because this tier is Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, and then Russell Wilson. Don't think Russ is going to fall to me here since there's 3 of those 4 that have already come off the board in between these next couple of picks. But then we have Deshaun Watson coming after Tyler Boyd, Dak Prescott, Deebo Samuel, who may or may not even start the season. He's injured right now. The coach doesn't really know. Kyle Shanahan doesn't really know if he's going to be back in time. Then we have Carrion Johnson, way too high as a pick here at the back of the 6th. As I mentioned in my Swift kind of analysis, I don't think Carrion Johnson is going to have much of a role at all this season. Injury prone, not that talented, not as explosive as Swift. We'll kind of see what happens with that though. But with your last pick of the 6th round, that is a horrible pick in my opinion. Then we have Evan Ingram going here at the first pick of the 2nd round. Then Kyler Murray going 2nd. James White pick 3. And then Tyler Higbee pick 4. So here I am looking to get Russell Wilson. I really hope he falls to me. He'll be a great QB1 for me. But if he is gone, I will either pick Michael Gallup or Marvin Jones here. I know a lot of people are super high, especially my friend Tanner Trout, on Will Fuller, which he ends up going there. He is a huge boomer bust guy, hasn't played a complete season, maybe even 14 games in a long time. And look at this. My guy Russell Wilson following to me there. He lasted the 5 or 6 picks, however long it took for him to get back to me. He is an easy pick for me right there. My starting lineup is basically filled. Loving my team so far. Russell Wilson, CEH, Mixon, Adam Thielen, OBJ, Mark Andrews, Cam Akers, and we'll kind of see what happens with this next pick coming up. But then we have Julian Edelman going ahead of Russell Wilson with that pick. But going back to Will Fuller, he can be the wide receiver 1 in an offense. There's going to be a ton of vacated targets, like 130 to 150. Can't remember how many exactly that DeAndre Hopkins had last year. But a ton of that will be coming in a vacuum to Will Fuller. Has that rapport already with Deshaun Watson. Can be that wide receiver 1. I mean, he's had a couple like 40 or 50 point fantasy weeks, but it's all a matter of him staying healthy. And I mean, over the course of this season, he has not remained healthy. I am not willing to take that shot on him with his injury history, but I can see it if you want to. He's just not a guy for me. Then we have Rob Gronkowski purely getting drafted this high because of his name value. I don't think he's going to have much of a role in the Buccaneers passing offense with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans taking over a ton of those targets and passing volume, especially with Gronk being out of football for a year. Going to get some touchdowns, going to get a couple of targets just because he has that bond with Tom Brady. I mean, Brady's the whole reason he came out of retirement and went to Tampa Bay. But he's just not a guy that I'm willing to take there in the 7th round. Then Hunter Henry there as pick 10. Michael Gallup, I was kind of hoping would follow me. Didn't think he would, but he does get taken there at pick 11. And then Marvin Jones falling to pick 12. Daryl Henderson there, kind of building on the Cam Akers discussion. Henderson may end up starting week 1, but I just don't think he lacks the explosiveness. I think he played on like 8% of snaps or had like 4 total snaps or something like that last year. I don't think the Rams think he is the guy. That's why they drafted Cam Akers. And I'm just super pumped about Cam Akers, all the talk in the offseason. Henderson has been getting some first-team snaps, so I will give him that. But I think they're going to be super limited, and they're going to decrease as training camp goes on. Then we have J.K. Dobbins there going pick 2 of the 8th round. Zach Moss, Deontay Johnson. And here I am going to go with Jordan Howard, kind of the 1A to Matt Breida's 1B. No idea what's going to happen there in the Dolphins offense as the training camp progresses. But Jordan Howard, he's quietly had a really good career. He's been like 4th in rushing yards over the last 5 seasons, however long he's been in the league. He's been on like 3 different teams with the Bears, Eagles, and now Dolphins. But he is a guy that does have fantasy value, especially if he can win that number 1 running back job away from Matt Breida. Going to be interesting to see how that battle plays out in training camp. And then we have Tom Brady going at pick 6. Christian Kirk going pick 7 here. Tons of auto draft picks coming up here soon. Then we have Philip Lindsay, who I just don't see how he fits into this Broncos offense now, especially with Melvin Gordon coming in and taking a lot of those rushing and even third down work. Be interesting to see what happens with that and the notes that are going to come out of training camp. But then he goes pick 9 right there in the 8th round. Going to be a ton of auto picks here, so the top guys on the best players available are going to come off the board here. So we'll kind of see how it shakes out. We have Jamison Crowder, who is getting a ton of offseason hype here in the Jets offense. The clear wide receiver 1 in what should be an improved Jets offense. I'm not going to say a whole lot here, but he should be the wide receiver 1 in an improved offense just because tons of people are going to be falling off. Denzel Mims is getting injured. Who's their wide receiver 2 right now? Robbie Anderson left. You have Vincent Smith basically going to miss the season because he has to get like core muscle surgery or something like that. But herewith, I'll go ahead and put a pause on that. I'm going to take my wide receiver 3 here and go with Preston Williams. Before he ended up getting injured, he was starting to have a breakout season, and the whole reason that Devontae Parker ended up having a breakout season was because Preston Williams did get injured, and a lot of those targets that would have gone to Williams ended up going to Parker. So I think that's a great pick there as my wide receiver 3. Obviously, he may or may not be in my starting lineup week to week, depending on what happens with Cam Akers and a couple of my other picks. Then we have N'Keal Harry going ahead of it. I probably got to check out all of these picks right here. We had Jamison Crowder, because that's what I was talking about. Then Tevin Coleman there. San Francisco running back there behind Raheem Mostert. It's going to be interesting to see how it ends up shaking out. with that San Francisco backfield since it's such a committee one. Then we have Latavius Murray going pick 12, Sterling Shepard pick 1 of the 9th round, Brandon Cooks, who I think will be the wide receiver 1 for the Texans offense in actuality once Will Fuller gets injured. We have Jared Cook there going pick 3 of the 9th round, not a bad pick for a touchdown-dependent guy. Then we have Golden Tate going pick 4, Carson Wentz pick 5, Henry Ruggs pick 6. I don't know if I would go with that shot here in the mid-9th round. Brian Edwards is getting a ton of offseason hype in that Raiders offense. Derek Carr loves to throw to him. We'll kind of see what happens with that, but a lot of people are going to be taking Edwards over Ruggs with all this offseason news coming out. I'll go ahead and make my next pick here before I get back into my analysis, but I am willing to take the shot here on the rookie wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson. Loved the tape and loved the film on him coming out of LSU. With Stephon Diggs leaving the Vikings, there's going to be a ton of vacated targets there, which is another reason why I dropped Adam Thielen. And maybe that's why recording here may have not been such a great decision while I'm live drafting a team. But I don't know if I would actually go with Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson in my starting lineup at one point. I don't know if I would draft Justin Jefferson when I already have Thielen, especially with the Vikings kind of being a run-first team. Maybe should have thought about that more, but I mean, with the discussion here, doing these live drafts, I don't have enough time to think about it. But that's just something to consider. As a wide receiver 4, I'm willing to take a shot on him, especially if Thielen gets injured like he did last year. Jefferson will be the wide receiver 1 in that offense, just something to keep in mind. But then we have N'Keal Harry going with pick 7 of the 9th round. Then I took Preston Williams, pick 8 of the 9th. Emmanuel Sanders, TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, Matt Ryan, Robbie Anderson. Pretty high pick for Robbie Anderson. I don't know if I would pick him in the 10th round there, especially with the first pick. Then we have Josh Allen going pick 2 of round 10. Antonio Gibson, one of those my guys this season. Adrian Peterson is the starting running back now, but Gibson is super explosive and can win over that starting job, and he's just going to be a super exciting player to watch over the course of the season. Then we have Drew Brees, pick 4 of the 10th. Justin Jefferson, that is where I took him with the last one. Then, of course, Adrian Peterson going there. Gibson and Peterson are going to have a ton of similar production, just Peterson's going to get a ton of rushing work, and then Gibson will be in the passing game. Just going to be interesting to see what happens there. We got Mecole Hardman going pick 7, but now I am back on the clock. And you know what? I'll take another shot with a rookie wide receiver here and go with Jalen Reagor, who you never know. He might end up being the wide receiver 1 in that offense. Alshon Jeffrey may not even start the season on the pup due to injury. And then Desean Jackson will probably play week 1, go off for like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then get injured for the rest of the season just like he did last year, which would leave Jalen Reagor as a wide receiver 1, maybe the second player on the team in targets behind Zach Ertz, maybe even the third with Miles Sanders. Be interesting to see how it shakes out. But he has been working at all the positions in that wide receiver offense, the slot, the outside guy, the X receiver, the B receiver if you're playing on Xbox sort of thing. But then taking a look back at that draft board, we have Austin Hooper going with the 8th pick of the 10th round, Darius Slayton, Hayden Hurst, I love that pick there in the late 10th round, John Brown, Matthew Stafford, Jerry Jeudy, Curtis Samuel, Alexander Madison, Mike Williams, Rashad Perriman, Marlon Mack, James Washington, super high. I mean, sometimes he doesn't even get drafted. A huge surprise for me there to see him get drafted here in the 11th round. Then we have Jalen Reagor. That is where I took him there with the 8th pick of the 11th round. Chris Herndon, Ben Roethlisberger, Desean Jackson, Duke Johnson, Tony Pollard, Aaron Rodgers, CeeDee Lamb, Jerick McKinnon, their third running back, third 49er running back off the board. But here I am looking to get my backup tight end, which I am going to do here with Mike Gesicki there. Going to fill in for Mark Andrews on his bye week, and then potentially if Mark Andrews gets injured or Gesicki has a great breakout season. I mean, he was doing pretty good there as the season progressed last year. Don't know how he's going to fit too much into this Miami offense. And I just thought about it. I may have made another mistake with getting 2 parts of that Miami passing attack, which won't be huge in fantasy relevance or totals or whatever, with Fitzpatrick and then Tua going to be kind of split in the season. Going to be interesting to see how it goes. But I do have Preston Williams and Mike Gesicki, as you can see right there. And even Jordan Howard, I forgot about him too. I don't want 3 parts of the Miami Dolphins offense. I mean, this is why you don't record your drafts as they're going along, because you make stupid decisions like that. Having 2 Vikings, 3 freaking Miami Dolphins. Not too happy with how this team is looking as of right now, but I mean, my starters are fantastic, just the bench not looking the greatest. But taking a look back at the draft board here, we have the Bills defense going after Mike Gesicki, 49ers defense Sammy Watkins, Paris Campbell, Anthony Miller. Then we have Nyheim Hines, Sony Michel, Daniel Jones, Keyshawn Vaughn, whose stock has dropped tremendously over the course of the offseason. At one point, he was even ranked and getting taken higher ahead of Ronald Jones, but everything has just gone south for him. They're not getting any first-team work. Bruce Arians saying Rojo is their guy. But then Brandon Ayukin, if you want to call him that, going with the 3rd pick. Then Justin Jackson, their pick 4. I like that one as well. Then taking a look here, 18 seconds on the board here for pick 149. About 25 minutes here into this draft, a ton of players getting taken off the board. My next kind of target here would be Boston Scott, back up to Sanders. Scott had a great last 4 weeks of the regular season last year. Back up to Sanders. If Sanders were to get hurt, Scott would have tremendous value in PPR formats. He is a pass-catching back, and I'm willing to take this next pick on him with the 13th round pick. We'll kind of see if he falls to me, kind of see what happens here. Larry Fitzgerald, just not exciting. Alshon Jeffrey probably going to be injured for most of the season. Denzel Mims just getting injured. T. Higgins has also been injured here. And you know what? I'm going to take Boston Scott here. Guy I was targeting is available to me here in the 13th round. Will be the running back 1 for the Eagles if Miles Sanders were to go down. And who knows, he may even have value there with Miles Sanders starting, because I mean last year in those 4 weeks he was like the running back 9 from like weeks 14 to 17, something like that. So he may have fantasy relevance even if he is not the starter. Going to be interesting to see what happens, but these guys you're just taking shots on here late in the draft. I think I have one more bench spot to fill. Yes, I do. I was thinking about taking Cam Newton there, but he ends up coming off the board as a backup to Russell Wilson. But here I am looking to take a defense, one of the top ones. Maybe if the Ravens are still available, they are, so I will probably take them there if they fall to me. Players coming off the board here, we have Chase Edmonds, Alshon Jeffrey, Denzel Mims, Harrison Butker coming off here, kicker in the 14th round. I can see taking him in the 15th. Most of the time I'll take him in the 16th, just depends on how the draft goes. But the Ravens defense does end up going there. And you know what? I'll take the Steelers defense. Usually they're one of the first 3 teams off the board after like the Bills and 49ers, but they are available to me here, and I will take them to fill out that defensive slot. Then up next, I will go ahead and take my kicker. Round 15, looking to get either Lutz or Zerline. I know I just trashed the Harrison Butker pick in the 14th round, but I'm willing to take him here in the 15th, so we'll see what happens. Another defense coming off the board. A lot of shots here on rookies and just players who may end up breaking out. Taking a look, we had T. Higgins going off. He's like the wide receiver 3 or 4 in that offense. Will be interesting to see how it ends up shaking out. But then we have Jack Doyle, A.J. Dillon, Ryan Tannehill, Joshua Kelly should be a goal line back there for the Chargers, so not a bad pick if you're in like a best ball league or something. Then the Patriots defense, Darrington Evans, backup for Derrick Henry. Then I will go ahead and take Greg Zuerlein here as my kicker. Then Damian Harris, the Broncos defense, Will Lutz, Bears, Saints, Jared Goff, whatever you want to call him. Then we got DeAndre Washington, potential backup to CEH. Not really excited to take him there. We'll kind of see what happens with the backups to the Chiefs. It may end up being Washington. It may end up being Darrell Williams. May end up being a couple other guys that they may not have signed. Maybe even Devonta Freeman if they find cap space for him. Then I took Zuerlein there with the 8th pick of the 15th round. The Vikings defense going off the board there with the 9th pick of the 15th. Then here I am looking to take, I guess we got to get the kicker off the board there. But I am willing to take the shot here on Antonio Brown. As you can see, my fingers kind of making an appearance there. I am willing to take him here with my last pick. Will be suspended for the first 8 weeks of the season. I think he is a great guy there. If you can get him, he won't have any utility. He'll get you 0 points for the first 8 weeks. But he could be a potential league winner if you were to sign with like the Seahawks, which would be perfect since I have Russell Wilson, or like the Ravens, or really just anybody. He could be a potential league winner. He is a guy I am not letting leave my draft, whether it be the 14th round selection or 15th, 16th, just kind of see how the draft goes or how your draft room or like league mates or whatever kind of view the draft. But then we have Cole Beasley going after the Vikings defense, Jonnu Smith going with the 11th pick of the 15th. Then the Buccaneers defense, Matt Prater going with the first pick of the final round. Then we have the Chargers defense going. Hoping Antonio Brown falls to me here. I am 3 picks away. Team Sewell taking a long time to pick their player. They go with Robbie Gould, Chris Boswell. So I will take Antonio Brown there. Potential league winner if you were to sign with somebody, which hopefully he does. I mean, I don't like him as a person, but as a football player, he is fantastic. You could have even taken him as like the first overall player a couple of drafts ago, went as a 2nd round pick last year for the Raiders. If you were to sign with the Ravens or Seahawks, he would be fantastic. And then we have Matt Gay, Buccaneers kicker, going after him. Demarcus Robinson, Zane Gonzalez, Kaimi Fairbairn, Anthony Farley McJr., Jake Elliott, and Austin Siebert. So taking a look at my team, I am loving these starters, loving the bench players too if you were to take a shot on them. We have Russell Wilson as my QB1, CEH, and then Joe Mixon rounding out my running backs, Thielen and Odell Beckham Jr. my starting wide receivers, Mark Andrews at the tight end, a great core right there. Now at the flex spot, I could either go with like Cam Akers, Jordan Howard, Preston Williams, if somebody were to break out like a Jalen Reagor or Antonio Brown even. Once week 9 comes along, that would be fantastic. Having Antonio Brown as my flex guy, that would be amazing. That would be just pure amazing. Then the Steelers defense, Greg Zuerlein rounding out my starting lineup, and then taking a look at that bench, we have Jordan Howard, Preston Williams, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor, Mike Gesicki, Boston Scott, and Antonio Brown. So if I were to redo this draft again, I probably wouldn't draft 3 Dolphins, probably honestly wouldn't draft 2 Vikings either. I may let Justin Jefferson go, or I may have taken like a DJ Moore or Allen Robinson with that first wide receiver spot. That's just taking a look here as how I would draft a team with the 8th overall pick. Next Monday, I may end up taking the 4, kind of seeing how that goes. But thank you guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. We'll go ahead and take a look at my 2 favorite teams, or 2 friends who also drafted a team. Mark Hagan, Team Hagan, had Dak Prescott, Zeke, having the 2 Cowboys players there, then Chris Carson, Chris Godwin, Tyler Lockett, Jared Cook, DJ Chark. Then the Patriots defense, Will Lutz, and then the bench was James White, Jamison Crowder, Hayden Hurst, Alexander Madison. Great pick if Dalvin Cook were to go down. Then we have Anthony Miller, Brandon Ayuk, and then Anthony McFarland Jr. A great team, great starting lineup too. And then taking a look at Team Trout, we have Josh Allen, the Stallion there as the QB1. Good, like 10th round, 9th round pick, wherever he ends up going. A great value there. Then Josh Jacobs, my running back 7 in the rankings. Then Kenyon Drake, DJ Moore, Robert Woods. DJ Moore was a great pick there at the end of the 3rd or 4th round. I can't remember where he ended up going, but it was super late and a great selection there with Robert Woods. Noah Fant as the tight end, not a huge fan of that pick, but once you get past like the Darren Waller, I mean, it's just kind of a dart throw. There's just tons of tight ends there available that are basically of the same value to me, and I don't hate that Noah Fant pick. And we have David Montgomery as a flex, Chargers defense, Harrison Butker, and then this bench though, these first 3 guys, we have AJ Green, who is my guy this season. I think he is a great potential breakout pick. I mean, I would start him over David Montgomery any day of the week. Michael Gallup, kind of the same way. As I mentioned, he is basically right up there with Amari Cooper in terms of, in draft value. Michael Gallup is so much better. In production, they're basically the same. So Gallup is definitely, I would draft Gallup over Amari Cooper based on their ADPs currently. J.K. Dobbins could easily take over the role, or the running back 1 role for the Ravens at some point this season. Just a little bit more exciting there, and has more value as a receiving back. Kind of interesting to see what happens there, especially as like a running back 4. I think that's a great pick. And then Desean Jackson, going to have those boomer bust games if he can stay healthy. If you start him on a boom game, that is a great pick. But I just don't know if you would ever start him. That's the thing, especially when you have DJ Moore, Robert Woods, and AJ Green, and even Michael Gallup ahead of him. But as a wide receiver 5, great pick. Just don't know if you'll ever start him. So I don't know if he'll ever return any value to you. Then we have Aaron Rodgers there as the backup quarterback, which is a great quarterback to have as your backup. Then Chase Edmonds and Jonnu Smith. So I'll go ahead and put my team on the board one last time for you guys to check out and see. But I think that draft went great. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this mock draft. I know it's getting pretty late here in the video. Challenging 33 minutes of length. Definitely one of my longer videos, which is just how these mock drafts end up going. But thank you guys for watching it. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of my team in the comments section below. And I will be doing a subscriber league for fantasy football, and more details on that will come when the video comes out, and I'll let you guys know the link to sign up and all that fun stuff. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all later.